The sound was big, and they headlined every one of those shows.
There was decidedly more of a cocky attitude and kind of swagger because, hey, we're playing with the big boys now, and we're right up there with them.
You have people throwing themselves at you, beautiful young women throwing at you. You have guys standing there with every drug known to man.
Drank as much as they want, they did as much drugs as they want, they picked up as many chicks as they wanted.
But life on the road was beginning to take a toll on their recording efforts. Their recording contract called for 2 albums a year. By their 3rd album, the pressure was starting to show.
One of the big problems when a band gets successful and they start going into their 2nd and 3rd album, it's not the same mix anymore, because like, oh, we're the same guys, but now we're popular, now we're expected to do this, and by the way, maybe we have a couple little chemical influences going on.
In 1969, At Your Birthday Party got decent sales, but its lack of direction compared to the band's previous outings garnered it mediocre reviews. 1969 also marked the departure of Steppenwolf bassist Rushton Morive.
Rushton was involved in a group that believed that California was going to fall into the Pacific Ocean because of an earthquake.
He played the gig Friday night and then disappeared. We had to fly a guy in for the Saturday night gig. Thank God somebody knew all the parts. And then when we got back home, we got, well, Nick used to play with us. Let's give it a shot.
When John, Jerry, and Goldie offered to have me come in to go back with their band, I felt, I love what they're doing. I love the album. I love what they're doing. And I said, yeah, I'm back. Where do we go?
The next casualty was guitarist Michael Monarch. He joined the band as a 17-year-old guitar hotshot, but by 1969, the hectic pace and too much booze and drugs had made Michael an unreliable band member.
I don't think he grasped at that early age how much effort had gone into, from the Sparrow through the early Wolf days, to get to the stage. And so he was perhaps a trifle dismissive of what effort should be put in to keep the momentum going.
Michael was replaced by Larry Byram, who gave Steppenwolf a much-needed breath of fresh air. For their next album, with 2 new band members in tow, ABC Dunhill demanded results.
We were under the gun, and it was like, let's go. We needed to come up with an album that made sense.
Their new album, entitled Monster, featured a direction that had been touched on in previous albums. The songs, and particularly John's lyrics, tackled a variety of political and social causes.
They're very thoughtful songs about the environment way before their time, about certain social, political situations in the world and the United States.
So he was exploring other areas, right or wrong. I mean, it was a real John. It was great.
Steppenwolf debuted Monster in front of 100,000 fans at 1970's Miami Pop Festival. The album went gold almost immediately. Steppenwolf was back on top. In 1970, Steppenwolf was riding the wave of rock stardom. The band had formed less than 3 years earlier out of the ashes of the Sparrow. They'd had 4 gold albums and were responsible for 2 of the late 60s biggest hits. But for Steppenwolf, success was a two-edged sword. They'd replaced 2 original band members, and cracks were starting to show in the band's unity.
The early sort of Three Musketeer mentality, all for one and one for all, where, garage band and we're going to work hard and pull together, and that gets somewhat dissipated when the success comes.
The more famous they became, the more the egos kept coming out.
Drug use and erratic behavior was also contributing to the tension within the band, in particular with replacement member and ex-Sparrow, Nick St. Nicholas.
Nick was the recipient of the success that was almost handed to him overnight, and he started to do certain things that were kind of peculiar, like wearing what he called robes, and most of us would call dresses.
Nick's short time with Steppenwolf would end after a prestigious booking in New York City.
15 minutes before we were supposed to leave for the biggest show of our lives at the Fillmore, with the Rolling Stone, Led Zeppelin people there, it's Jimi Hendrix people there, everybody's there. And we're at the Park Plaza playing hide and seek with a bunch of girls in the nude. and a guy comes to the door, and then I finally recognized him. It was our road manager, Lance Corey. Says, "Are you guys ready to play?"
For his bandmates, Nick's bunny ears and sequin jockstrap stage costume and his woefully out-of-tune bass were the last straw.
Somebody would give him a whole too much LSD. We came out, we started to play, and he was out of tune, and John stopped the show at the Fillmore in New York and said, "I wouldn't mind, but you're out of tune."
When I look back, I would have changed a lot. I would have liked to have been a better bass player. I would have. There's a lot of things I would have changed.
Nick was replaced by George Biondo, and it was back to the studio. Screaming Nighthawk was released as a single, but failed to make much of a dent in the top 40. Their next album, 1970's Steppenwolf 7, went gold, but failed to generate a much-needed hit single.
It did take a turn. It's like, okay, this is obviously something different. There's a few things, Renegade on there, that talked about John's early life, escaping away from the Nazis and all that was great. But two-thirds of that, I think, was really good. And yeah, then we stretched it a little bit. I mean, they got so desperate for coming up with a 10th song that there's something on there called Fat Jacks, which was just a hamburger stand that was right next to us.
By 1971's For Ladies Only album, it was becoming increasingly clear that Steppenwolf had run out of gas.
It just wasn't working. You know, the band was not putting out a product that its public wanted to hear.
Come 71 or 72, I basically said, I've run out of energy, I've run out of creative juices. I want to return to some of my musical roots.
On Valentine's Day 1972, after 5 years, 8 gold records, and sales in excess of $42 million, Steppenwolf decided to hang it up. Jerry and Goldie announced the formation of their new band, Seven, and John released a solo album. Forgotten Songs and Unsung Heroes featured a collection of both new songs from John and covers of tunes written by his musical idols.
It's still one of my favorite albums. And that didn't work out too well. And from then on, it got a little rough.
In 1974, with Money as a major inducement, Steppenwolf reformed for what was to be a one-off European tour.
We found ourselves in the mid-70s doing a so-called Steppenwolf farewell tour in Europe. That was the pivotal point for us to say, hey, the time off was good for us. We've written songs separately away from one another. And we agreed at the end of that tour that when we returned to go back into my studio here to record a new album.
74, Slow Flux, we got back together, and it's a beautiful, beautiful album. It really is.
I was feeling so bad about my best friend. I could swear the sky was falling.
The press reacted very favorably to Steppenwolf's second coming, and they signed a new 3-album deal with Mums Records, a successful independent label distributed by CBS. Straight Shootin' Woman became a hit single and helped Slow Flux break into the top 40. But by the time of the next album, Hour of the Wolf, original member Goldie McJohn was fired.
And Goldie's experimentation with the various drugs had really resulted in him being unpredictable to the point where his performance with the band was hit and miss, you know.
That happened, and it's been a long time. There's been a lot of water under bridges.
More bad news ensued when Mums Records collapsed. The band was shunted to new parent Epic, but Epic had almost no interest in supporting Steppenwolf's last delivery, Skullduggery.
We're not getting any help from the labels. We're kind of spinning our wheels. My daughter doesn't recognize her father, and because we're on the road or in the studio and I hardly see her. I have a need to pull back, and I don't want to be responsible for everybody else, so I want to call it quits.
We felt that once again it was best now to put the band to rest for the second time and save ourselves the embarrassment of dragging the name Steppenwolf through the mud.
John took time off to reestablish his priorities and focus on his family. But the days of substantial record royalties and big concert paydays were gone. Then, in 1978, John found out that he was broke.
They discovered that their business people the investments that they had made for them in oil wells and tax write-offs in apartment houses and things were all kind of not what they were led to believe they were.
But it was also our fault because we handed everything over to them. They wrote the checks. They, we just spent. And then one day he said, it's time for you to take it over. There's nothing left.
And on the heels of that came a solo project I did down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And when that album came out, was roughly at a time or shortly thereafter that word reached us that there was a band out there called Steppenwolf that was touring.
As the two remaining founding members and sole shareholders of Steppenwolf Productions, Inc., John and Jerry believed that they owned the Steppenwolf name. But in 1979, word reached them that there was at least one and as many as 3 rogue bands touring as Steppenwolf.
None of us, Jerry and I, had any idea to what extent that name had been run into the ground out there, the kind of horrific performances that that band had given.
They were dressing somebody, some young kid, up with sunglasses and leather, and so it would give the appearance of kind of a John Kay look-alike.
Well, it turned out that Nick and Goldie, both of whom had been fired at different points along the way, were involved in this.
The name was being trashed. It's like, how dare they? We did something good. We stood for something, and here are these bogus guys are going out and people are coming there saying, oh, I want to see Steppenwolf. It's like, God, that's what Steppenwolf is?
John and Jerry bought trade ads in an attempt to warn concert promoters of the fake Steppenwolfs. Then, in order to avoid a protracted legal battle, they reluctantly made a deal with their former bandmates.
It was finally resolved that John and me would allow these ex-members to use the name if they paid us a percentage of their gross income from using the name.
Lo and behold, this gaggle of people who were out there trashing the name Steppenwolf at the time, what we called the bogus wolf, were in breach of this contract, this newly signed contract, within months.
It turned ugly. It really did.
In 1980, John decided that he would make it a personal crusade to rescue whatever was left of the Steppenwolf name. But it wouldn't be easy. John Kay and Steppenwolf started at the very bottom. In 1980, John Kay and Steppenwolf headed out on a seemingly endless tour in an attempt to reclaim the Steppenwolf name. A mere 4 years earlier, they'd been flying in private jets to arena concerts around the world. But this time, their mode of transportation was the Kay family van.
One glass in the morning, 2 shots at night.
We started in what I would call the toilets of the bar circuit.
We were moving 500-mile runs overnight. The press was just frightening, and everywhere we'd go, we'd find out that act had either already been there, or we'd see a poster on the street that they were coming.
We toured for 4 years. I think in 1980 I was home for 2 weeks for Christmas.
One time we were playing in Minneapolis or somewhere. John and I were just finished sound checking. We were sitting there talking, and a guy came up to John and he says, "You're not John Kay."
I said, "You're not John Kay. He wouldn't play a shithole like this." And I'm going, whoa, But when you sit in your hotel room after the show and you kind of go, well, is this still worth it? Do I really still want to do this? And there's this other little voice that says, well, yeah, a couple of years ago you were headlining in arenas and so forth. But you know what? There were 600 people in this club tonight who came and loved what you guys did, and you sent them home happy, and they were not above being here. Why should you be? When we were in that, van going across the desert sections for hours on time talking about last night and what's in store for us in the future, there was a lot of that, we kicked ass last night. These people really were beside themselves. And if we can do this every night, word should spread.
worked our way all the way from those sleazy beer bar dives up to the Spectrum in Philly.
He had resurrected the name Steppenwolf and John Kay and Steppenwolf, where they were playing the Universal Amphitheater again, and a place like the Greek Theater, and decent houses and theaters all over the country.
By the late 80s, through hard work and sheer determination, John Kay was able to taste success for a second time.
Get your motor running and head out up the highway, looking for adventure. Yeah, whatever comes our way. Get out and go make it happen. Take the world in a loving breeze. Fire all of the guns at once and explode into space.
In 1989, John and Jutta decided it was time for a change of scenery. They left their home in the Hollywood Hills and moved to the hills of Tennessee, just south of Nashville.
It's 22 years in Los Angeles, and then out into them hills, you know, I heard Deliverance all over.
Never regretted it, because they've been 13 of the best years of our life, both for us personally as well as the Wolf.
Has a studio there and the office is there. I mean, we work out of the house. He talked the whole band out to move to Tennessee.
In 1989, John, along with millions of others around the world, watched his television in disbelief as the Berlin Wall started to come down.
I didn't realize that I had some really strong feelings about my own past behind the Iron Curtain and what had happened in the interim, that were kind of buried back there. And when I saw this, I really just kind of lost it.
That was a very emotional time, that wall. I think for all of us Germans, if not around the world, and especially for him.
Crossing the line in the dead of night, 5 years old and on the run.
I'm not one who dwells, on or in the past. Life is, you play the hand that's dealt you, and what you make of it is, to a great extent, your own effort.
Today, John Kay and Steppenwolf continue to tour and record. John's recent solo album, Heretics and Privateers, brings him full circle back to his love of the blues. His lyrics continue to expound on his desire for social justice and freedom.
When you are this fortunate, and when you've had the ability to take care of more than your basic needs, that your own humanity, if you're lucky, will call out to you and say, I may not be the person I hope to become, but in the process of hopefully getting closer to that, I certainly wish to be more engaged with the world around me. I want to invest in things that are beyond myself.
Countless times I've seen the wonders that the gift of hope can bring to the betrayed and the forgotten. Yet I just stood there in the wings. Too many times I heard the call and did not answer to my shame. But I swear from this day on that I will lend a helping hand.